Hey, of Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Very excited to have on Eric Bell, who's had a lot of roles in the franchise industry over the 15 plus years. Franchisee, GM of one of the largest franchise portals and information sources. And now he's the VP for franchise sales at Online Image, a leading marketing firm for all different types of businesses, but especially expanding in the franchise vertical and really helping franchisees hit their profitability as fast as possible. And we go all through what they do at Online Image and how they're really focused on getting franchisees more customers, and the value flows up throughout the whole franchise system. So Eric, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So could you just tell us a little bit about how you got into the franchising space?
Yeah. 2001, maybe, I decided to become a franchisee. I was looking for a franchise to buy. I was in Philadelphia. There was a tanning franchise that was doing very well. And I actually picked up and decided I was going to move to Georgia with my then girlfriend, now wife, and help them develop the Atlanta area. So we moved down here. I purchased a couple territories, opened up one location, helped them manage about 3 units in total. So I had some operations experience. Also asked them if I could sell franchises down here, which I did. So got a little taste of franchise sales. Unfortunately, my unit didn't last very long, so made some big mistakes. But it was a great experience. I actually draw on that experience every day. But that was, 20 some years ago when I first got into franchising.
And what kept you into the franchise industry? Why not go back and then start your own business, independent business, or go back to the corporate life? What kept you in the franchise ecosystem?
Well, in terms of starting my own business, after that experience, I was really looking forward to having someone pay me. That looked like a pretty nice weight to lift off my shoulders for a little bit. And honestly, I answered that on Career Builder, and that led me to my next role, which was with Franchise Gator, which is collectively known as a franchise portal, and was there for the next 15 years.
Wow.
So I like the franchising world. I mean, I did feel like that was going to be a good fit. I can't say that I was necessarily looking to stay in the franchising world, but I'm glad I did, because it's a role I relish, and the community is small and tight, and now I've known people for 15 to 20 years, and they're great friends, and it's an awesome community, and can't see myself doing anything different.
And at Franchise Gator, it was helping franchisors get more leads and basically grow their licenses that they award to franchisees. Is that right?
Yeah, so Franchise Gator is, the way to think of it is, it's a directory of franchise opportunities. So we want to be the #1 landing spot for prospective franchisees, give them several opportunities to browse around, and when they find something they like, they're going to, select them, submit an inquiry, right? And that was the business model, is we're passing along those inquiries and getting paid per inquiry. So that was on the Fran Dev side, the franchise development side. That was my, that became my focus, and I started out in a sales role, and then became the general manager of Franchise Gator in 2014-ish. And in that role, oversaw all aspects of sales, marketing, accounting, all of the above. But that was really my first foray into marketing, specifically digital marketing, specifically the challenges that come with digital marketing.
It's a moving target.
Yeah. So that was quite a learning experience, and then it's that experience that kind of drew me to Online Image.
And Online Image, it seems like it's more of a holistic approach, where what you were doing before is like pretty specific, getting that initial lead to the franchisor. And what I understand, Online Image, it's mostly about current franchisees, system-wide improvement. Could you tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about kind of what you're doing at Online Image?
Yeah, so Online Image focuses on SEO. That is our strength in ranking franchise companies and their franchisees organically. We try and get them to be much less reliant on the paid part of Google and the paid channels on all the search engine platforms. And the difference between what I'm doing now versus what I was doing previously was at Franchise Gator, it was you're trying to rank for national terms, and that's really hard, right? You're basically competing against everybody, working with franchisees and helping them rank locally. It's a much different beast. It's a lot more intricate, and there's a lot more to do, a lot more to learn, which is why I'm really taking to it. So it is a lot more of a holistic approach when you think of the digital marketing aspect specifically. There's a lot to tackle. There's a lot of signals to try and make sure you're hitting when it comes to telling Google, hey, here is a website that you need to put in front of your audience, and you should have a lot of trust in them providing the information that your audience is looking for.
Good quality content, and that should lead them to one of the top slots.
Yeah, the content is definitely an important piece of it, and it goes a lot deeper than that, of course. But content is very important, and is in some people's eyes probably the most important thing. In some people's eyes, the only important thing, which I don't agree with. I think that's a way to look at it. But content is obviously paramount in a lot of cases.
And you don't have to sell me on SEO. I mean, for Vetted Biz, I don't know, 90% plus of our traffic is just organic searches on Google, Bing, some of the other search engines. And for us, it's nice because we create the content, and yes, it's not just content. There's different optimization strategies, but at the end of the day, if Facebook ads get too pricey, we don't have to deal with that, or how they change, or having perfect copy. We like that. Why, for franchisees, do you push SEO above some of the other channels that they could potentially get clients?
Well, we don't get too involved in social media. So let's look at that for instance. And it's just, not our forte. We're focused more on the SEO side. So that's important. It's going to be important to them, especially if they're they want to market locally. Social media is very personal, and you want to make sure that everybody who is a potential customer knows that you're involved in the community.
Sure.
On the SEO side, so let's just focus on Google for a second. We want to make sure that they are focused on claiming some of those organic positions and not the paid positions, because I'm going to look at some statistics that I have just to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
It's about 11% of the audience clicks on the paid links at the top of Google, right? So if you are relying on those paid links, you're missing out on 89% of the audience, right? The Google Maps, the Google My Business, and that name's changing. I forget what it's called now, but that's obviously very important. And that's more of a yellow pages. I mean, the maps, you get pulled up based on proximity, or proximity mainly, and it's proximity and your Google reviews, right? So less signals, but very important. But again, you got to keep up with that, because a good portion of the people are going, again, right past those page sections, going to the map section. It's all about that organic traffic. That's where the clicks are. That's where the money is. So if you're into revenue and profitability and making money, well, you should focus on that.
Well said. And is it generally franchisees that are engaging you directly at Online Image, or you generally have the relationship with the franchisor level? How does that work out?
Yeah, it starts at the franchisor level. And that's important, because it really does trickle down. It's a collective effort, right? You do not want to have your franchisees completely going off on their own, because now you're going to get some overlap. You're going to be maybe competing for the same keywords between franchisees, or maybe with corporate, right? And there's many ways that this can happen through blogging, or maybe some franchisees go out and they get their own URL, individual URL, and that can be a big mistake.
It can take
but
years to make even the domain authority where Google even recognizes that whatever you're producing is worth being on the first page.
Right, exactly. And, and we talked about content, and, content is, certainly important. And, I go back all the way to, I think it was 2011, the first Panda update from Google. It was them saying, hey, look, we're sophisticated enough to now, be able to tell how authentic someone is, and really how much of an expert they are. And so again, that kind of lends itself to being, a little bit more personal. But Google's still a computer. It's not a person. So you have to, just not focus on the blogs and not focus on the content. So these are some of the things that we're trying to collectively harness and make sure that everything's working in concert, and that also the franchisees are, and this to me is one of the most important aspects, is that the franchisees are getting the benefit of being part of a franchise system, right? They're buying into a franchise because they want to be in charge of their own small business, operate it locally, but they want to have some of the benefit of being part of a large corporation, right? And being part of a website that has, maybe 100 different location pages, that should rise all boats, as they say.
Exactly.
And so, if the website's not working like that, not taking advantage of that, well, then the franchisees are just not getting that full benefit of being part of a franchise.
I mean, people buy high domain authority sites for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And as a franchisee, if you do it right with Online Image or another provider, you're tapping into the franchisor level. And Google's seen that your recent store is associated with that parent company, and that website's been around for 10 plus years, where you could probably really turbocharge the client acquisition side, where if you're just opening a mom and pop business, it's going to take years to start getting organic results.
Yeah. And, Google likes, local businesses, right? So it's not all, the national directories like Yelp, right? Yeah. So there is room. They want to, keep an eye out for the local businesses. Mom and pops do have a chance, but, if you're part of that franchise system, there should be a lot more brains behind it, a lot more effort behind it, a lot more working together. And we've seen companies kind of take over page one, and I use that term loosely because there's so many terms, and so it's more about an average position on page one. But we've seen it be transformational, and there's statistics out there. I mean, the click-through rate, just incrementally gets better the higher up you are on.
If you're on the second page, forget about it. I think it's like 5% after you go from like 9 to 10, and 9's 10%. People are going to click through, something like that.
I didn't even know there was a percentage, but it's, I mean, like if you're at the bottom of page one, I mean, you're doing infinitely better than you are on page two. But if you go from the bottom of page one just to, position 8 or position 7, you're like double or tripling
exactly
your click-through rate. So it should be a constant fight. You should constantly look to get better.
The competition
until you're in the top 3. Absolutely beat out the competition, beat out those national directories, get higher than Yelp. We've seen companies that outrank some of those third-party sites like Home Advisor and Angie's. And so now they're getting those leads directly rather than from them, where automatically they're competing against, 5, 6 other vendors.
And they control the narrative, the client experience, what they see first, what the follow-up is.
Yeah, and the average ticket price goes up, right? Because you get so used to competing against, 4 or 5 other vendors, like I said, when you get a lead from Angie's or Home Advisor. Once you stop doing that, you're not discounting right away. And we've seen average ticket price go up, a pretty strong percentage.
That's wild. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not getting that from relying on some of the third-party sites to draw your leads in, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have to in some cases, but if you're relying on that, it just means that there's room to grow and get better and get those leads directly by getting better positioning on organically.
Knowing what you know now, and I know it's changed a lot in terms of marketing going back 20 years, but like what kind of support would you wish your franchisor had when you were opening up your franchise in Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, so I do have a little bit of a backstory that lends itself to what I'm doing. So I own the tanning salon, excuse me, and then I had mentioned I made some mistakes, and one of the biggest mistakes that I thought of at the time was, I really I thought this thing was going to grow, so I bought or rented a very big space, and I couldn't handle my monthly rent, right? That I thought was my biggest mistake. Well, a couple of years later, I was at a local franchisee marketing event at a luncheon, and there was a digital marketing company that sponsored the event, so they got a chance to get up and talk about their business. And one of the things that this person said was, a franchisee buys into a system, and they're bringing some expertise to the table, right? They probably have some sales skills or maybe industry skills of some sort, but they probably have zero marketing skills, right? And it just kind of dawned on me, like, wow, that's me. I thought I could do it. I didn't really think twice about how hard it is and how important it is. I just thought, there's like some basics that I can do.
It's a science and art. People study it for years.
But really what dawned on me was that my franchisor was not very helpful. Right. And the example I always use is Facebook was just about to, blow up and be very important for anybody who was marketing locally. And I told you I sold franchises. The franchisee, one of the franchisees that I sold to, he was doing pretty well on Facebook, or at least, he was out there, and I saw him putting a lot of effort into it. And I said, I don't like Facebook. I'm not going anywhere near that. And this is just dumb. And someone should have pulled me aside, smacked me around, and said, no. This is how marketing is done right now, but I didn't have a franchise.
Well, you didn't have the time to learn, to really get into social media marketing. Like, if you don't have the franchisor or some sort of trusted advisor, I mean, it's going to take hours.
Yeah.
And also you're going to spend a ton of money on ads targeting the wrong people.
Figuring it out. Exactly. And so it really dawned on me that it is imperative that the franchisor really takes control of marketing efforts and really does everything they can to make sure that the franchisee is in line to, really excel, all things marketing. And they need to take charge, right? They can't just say the franchisee is expected to spend X, but not give them the tools to go out and spend it on, not give them the expertise.
Follow up too. Make sure that they have an audit and make sure they're actually doing it right and money isn't being wasted.
Yeah, there's plenty of that, right? Leads going unanswered, unfollowed up on. There should be a little quality control there as well.
And it seems like founders of franchise systems too, the franchisors generally don't have marketing experience. They're really good at the product or service that they're selling, and they really have deep industry knowledge and are really good at running their business and have a nice model that they've created and great operating system. But very few of them are come from a marketing background and are extremely good marketers.
No, I actually just called a company this morning. Reached out to them. I worked with them many years ago. Didn't get a hold of the contact, but I was told it was the CEO. He's the one who handles all the local marketing. And right then I went, this is just going to be a no-win situation, right? So, if this is a company that doesn't have a marketing team, well, they're not going to, all of a sudden start taking it seriously, right? And you look at these large systems, the ones with not just 100, but 200, 300, 400 units, they have a very sophisticated marketing team in place. And that's going to be a differentiator. So, I mean, if I had one piece of advice for a new franchise company, take that marketing piece as seriously as you can, get it in line right from the get-go, because you're going to spin your wheels when you're at 50 units. You're not going to know why you can't get to 60, 70, 100 units. And you're losing as many as you're gaining. And it's just going to cost you a ton of money to finally get all that marketing in line.
Some of the most successful franchises I've recently been studying, and I've had interviews with a few presidents, are service brands where the franchisor has a call center and they're really handling all the marketing efforts, and they're setting up the website, and they're working with a firm like Online Image and getting that stack and slotting you in, like slotting the content, the SEO specialist, slotting in the social media, slotting in the direct mail supplier, where they kind of take the sales and marketing aspect and brand building away from the franchisee. And the franchisee is just focused on hiring, training, firing, and serving the customer.
So one of the things we say is that this is in regards to blogging. You want to really take it out of the franchisee's hands as much as possible. But the way we kind of sum it up is that the franchisor should be the expert on the service and the product, and the franchisee should be the expert on selling that product and service. And that's in that case, we're talking about the structure of the website. But you take the website out of it, that's exactly how it should be set up. The franchisee needs to be the expert at selling and delivering the service. Let the franchisor take care of everything else. So, I mean, if they're going to outsource a call center on behalf of the franchisees, that's great. I mean, that's really taking control and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of everybody involved, and just making sure that every opportunity is taken advantage of. That's great. I love that.
And how do you work with franchisors to basically make sure that their franchisees are off to a strong start? Because I've come across franchisees where they're getting minimal support on, they don't even have like a Google page, bare minimum Facebook profile, the website's barely functioning. How do you work with franchisors to make sure that doesn't happen, where the franchisee is able to get actionable leads that they can start closing deals and hit break even fast?
Well, getting the franchisor on board and becoming an approved vendor, I mean, that's a process. So a lot of those conversations are already happening. The importance of putting us in front of the franchisees. The IFA show just happened in San Diego. One of the round tables, it was actually brought up that this was someone else, another digital marketing specialist, who said they've worked with franchise systems as an approved vendor, but they were not allowed to reach out to the franchisees. And we're actually in a similar position right now. And the comment was, why would you put all that effort into identifying a company that can help, but just not really marketing and pushing it? So, it's on the franchisor to let the franchisee know, hey, we've done a lot of research, a lot of vetting, and we have these awesome companies that we've decided are going to be best for us to, not just increase our bottom line, but more specifically, drive more customers to you guys. So we're going to let them reach out to you, take their call, listen to them, listen to their solution, and then if there's any concerns, if there's a reason why you don't want to take advantage, let us know what that is, right? So the franchisor really needs to send that kind of message to make sure that everybody's receptive.
If you're a vetted vendor, you're pre-approved, why would they not just roll it out and really try to have everyone using the same SEO specialist?
Yeah, I think they just get a little scared about the franchisees getting attacked with cold calls, and I completely understand that, but there's other ways to go about it. Like, we're all on the same page. We have one goal. Let's just talk about the best way to achieve that goal and make it happen.
And do you have any situations where it's the franchisor that's just running the show and like managing the local site, and you have minimal interactions with the franchisee themselves?
Well, not minimal interaction with the franchisee. The problem was that I'm speaking of, that your question just kind of reminded me of a situation. This was actually before I got to Online Image, but pretty big company in the sign industry. And when we do our thing, we thrive. And we have plenty of examples of that, where we are making the franchisees a ton of money. When the franchisor hires us, but also thinks they know more than us about our expertise, our area of focus, things go sideways. And we actually called them and said, hey, look, this isn't working out. And so to give you a general example, I keep going back to blogging, but blogging has the opportunity to just get pages to compete against one another or rank for the wrong keywords,
Yeah.
get traffic going to the wrong pages. I mean, it's that simple. So, as one example, they continue to blog, or they continue to put content out on certain pages where we told them, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't, we have this whole game plan in place, and you're not playing along.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, and no one wants that because the whole system's going to suffer, and you could be getting leads from your adjacent territory where you can't even service that customer.
There's no playbook on how to rank organically, right? I mean, you understand what's going on when you buy search engine marketing, right? Some of those paid channels on Google. All the statistics are right there. I mean, your results are immediate. You see exactly what's happening. With organic, it's a long-term play. And even when you get to page one, in a lot of cases, you're not sure why, right? You're pretty happy. So my point is, everybody can make the case that they know better, right?
Yeah, no,
everybody's reading.
Target. I think on the scale of like complexity, when you look at direct mail, when you look at social media marketing, I mean, the organic component, as Google's not transparent in terms of what's showing and what their algorithms are. I mean, unless you have tons of clients and you're able to see how all these different strategies have worked, I mean, it's going to be tough to roll that out. Just studying and having minimal information and testing it out yourself, you don't have the feedback loop. It could take months.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think that, just as you say, Google, doesn't make their algorithm known. They don't give you, specifics. And, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of helpful information, but, it's, we're still living in Google's world, and man, they control so many businesses. So many businesses will live and die by, how they interact with Google and how much traffic Google's sending to them. They got us, man. They hooked us in.
Yeah, so you got to learn how to play the game, and it's really become much more scientific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, the rise of content marketing and blogging, a lot of people want to say SEO is dead, which I've come to learn really just means it's all about the content. And I said it before, Google's a computer, right? Now, very sophisticated computer, very sophisticated algorithms, and they have a lot of things that they're looking at to really tell how useful a website is and how relevant it is to whatever search term is being plugged in. Absolutely, and when you think about it, it feels like you're interacting with a human. But the truth is, it's not. It's still a computer, right? So keep that in mind. There's still some things that we have to do to appease to this computer. It's not just all about putting out blogs and making sure that they understand that we are the experts on the subject. It doesn't start and stop there. And I think a lot of people get carried away and they think that that's all that's important.
So franchisors that maybe have 10, 20, 30 locations and they have a great operation, they're looking to really scale up. Would Online Image be able to provide value to that type of emerging franchise concept, or do you prefer later stage franchises with hundreds of locations?
Yeah, no, all the above. I mean, we absolutely can help the emerging brand. We love helping the emerging brand. We love being a part of that ride, right? The more locations you have, the stronger you are going to be. But it doesn't mean that you can't do some serious damage if you have 20 or 30 units. So no, we love working with the emerging brands.
And do you mostly work directly with the franchisor, or are you also working with like franchise sales organizations?
Yeah, but so we'll work on the franchise development website.
Okay.
We won't get into the franchise sales, but it's mostly working with the franchisor. And then we have a team that works one-on-one with the franchisee. So we want to be their confidant. We want to make sure that they understand exactly what playbook we're working off of, what we're focused on, and how that's going to help them, what it's going to specifically mean for them. And this I like to think is a differentiator. We're really focused on ROI. We like to keep ROI front and center, right? We're not about impressions. We're not about clicks. We're not about just the number of visitors that come to a page. And we have this conversation with the franchisees to let them know that, hey, look, we want to understand your business. We want to make sure that we know what goes into ROI, what's making you money. What should we be really, focused on?
What's the call to action at the end of the day?
What's the call to action? Exactly. And so the call to action might be a form fill, but a form fill is not really making anybody money. It's when they become a customer. So let's make sure we're tied into the CRM and we're tied into Google Analytics, and their bottom line is tied to everything that we're doing, and we're all looking at the same things, right? If we're not making them money, we want them to be aware of that. We want them to call that out to us. We want to make sure that we can flip the script and, make sure that that's not the case. When we're working with a customer, we don't lose them. We've been working with customers for years, and their ROI is still going up, so there's a lot of work to be done. And, I like to think that is something that makes us a little bit different, is that, we know how to have those conversations, how to understand the business, and again, keep that focus on ROI, because that's really what it should be all about.
And are there any particular industries in franchising that you're more focused on than others?
Not more focused on. I mean, we do work with, probably more home service companies than normal. It's probably, I say this lightly, but it's probably a little easier than brick and mortars, because brick and mortar has a smaller territory that you're going after. With home services, there's a lot of trust involved, right? You're bringing someone into your home in a lot of cases. And if they're not like literally coming into your home, they're working in and around your home, right? So they are more likely, this user, to bypass the top part of Google, the paid part, right? Which is not coincidental. What it says is the user has more faith in what Google is going to return organically, right? They have this inherent trust in the algorithm, and no one really understands that that's what's going on, but that is what's going on. That's why you go right to the organic section. So, the people who are hiring people to come to their house, maybe literally go in their house, they're more likely to skip right past those pay sections and go to the organic.
And also probably the stakes are a little higher, where every incremental customer could be, another $200, $500 to their bottom line. So to the extent that they invest in organic and they're able to get another couple leads per day, I mean, they could have incremental effects on their business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we do some home inspections. We work on mold and damage, water damage, and some of the home improvement type of industries. But we have experience in painting. But we also have experience with restaurants. We have experience with clothing stores. We have a tremendous amount of experience with insurance inside and outside the franchising world. So I'm learning every day who we've worked with, what our experience entails. And I mean, it just runs the gamut as far as the industries that we help, not just in franchise sales. We made a big push recently to try and get the name out. I'd like to think that I'm a big part of that effort, and make the franchising world a little bit more aware of online image. But we've also been in the SMB market for a very long time, and still are to this day.
Eric, any concluding thoughts for franchisors and or franchisees that haven't thought much about their content marketing strategy, like how to best get their feet wet?
Rein it in as early as possible. Make sure that you have a plan that you feel really good about, to get on page one. So your average position is on page one of Google. Make sure you have a team in place. Look at vendors, shop around. It's great to bring your own expert in-house, but can't hurt to find a company that can help you along and has the type of experience and has shown the type of results in your industry that you're looking for. So never stop looking, never stop seeing what's out there, never stop seeing what's next, never stop seeing what the latest and greatest is.
Well, Eric, thanks so much for joining us today. I'll be sure to put your contact information in the YouTube details, as well as on the podcast episode notes. Really appreciate having you on, and thanks again.
Enjoyed my time. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.